Today, our world uses a huge amount of energy. Approximately 87% of our energy comes from fossil fuels, which includes oil, coal, and gas. Burning these fossil fuels produces a vast amount of carbon dioxide, causing climate change. In fact, oil, coal, and gas emitted 31.6 gigatons of CO2 in 2011. With global energy demand growing, we need clean, reliable energy sources to meet our needs. Solar energy is a renewable energy that harnesses the sun's light using photovoltaics. Although solar power only accounts for 6.5% of renewable energy, it grew 86.3% in 2011, and it has averaged an annual growth of over 50% for the past 5 years.
It's a matter of national security and global stability. It's at the heart of the global economy. We therefore have an interest in promoting new technologies and sources of energy, especially including renewables, to reduce pollution, to diversify the global energy supply, to create jobs, and to address the very real threat of climate change.
Literally all the energy we're using, other than nuclear energy, came from solar energy at some point. Even fossil fuel used sunlight, but that was sunlight millions of years ago. Basically, sun provides us all the energy and heat. But using solar photovoltaic is the most direct way of harvesting that energy. You just take the light directly and turn that into electricity. It is one of the most powerful energy you can harvest. So for example, if I want to create electricity enough for United States, I only need to cover 1% of the land with solar cells. All the roads we built cover about 1% of the land. There's a lot of energy in sunlight, and we only need just a tiny little portion of it. So it's definitely very promising to capture solar energy to power the world. One of the big challenges of switching to renewable energy is currently the cost of them are too high. So people would much rather buy power from coal because the only thing you see is the difference in price. I can make a very, very efficient solar cell, but it might be very, very expensive. I can also make a very inefficient solar cell, but if it's cheap enough. So what you need to do is take the ratio. $1 per watt. Basically, that's the ratio you need to do, is how much does it cost to produce a watt of power. For solar energy or any renewable energy to be competitive, you need to be less than $1 a watt. The silicon solar cell, merely the material silicon itself costs about 20%. So can we try to somehow make a thinner silicon solar cell? So reducing the silicon use. So using, hopefully, if I can reduce it by 50%, then, within the same amount of material, you can produce more silicon solar cells, then you're reducing the material cost. People are starting to think about organic solar cells, almost like a plastic. And it's very cheap to produce. You just print it out the way you fabricate plastic. So the hope is, even though it's very cheap and it's not as efficient, but there are people thinking of putting on backpacks. When you're walking around hiking, you can be charging your cell phones. There's definitely a lot of energy in the sun. So if we can use it efficiently, that's definitely a great source of energy. But other things that need to go with it. So part of the challenge is you need to be able to store energy because sun doesn't shine every single hour. There are places that are abundant in sunlight, like deserts. People thought, can we set up solar farms in North Africa and send the power to Europe? Then in that sense, you need to build infrastructure. How can we transmit the power from Africa to Europe efficiently? Infrastructure is one of the things that we need to solve so we can use clean energy like solar power night and day and not limited to location. One of the form of fuel people are thinking about in the future is hydrogen. People were able to use electricity using electrodes and an electrolyte to rip the molecule apart, producing oxygen, hydrogen. One of the ways is make clean electricity to split the water. Then this is a very clean process. There are other people who are thinking about using again, coming back to material science, using the right material. There are material that can naturally absorb sunlight, produce enough energy in that material. It's called photocatalysis. Using sunlight, and in the right condition, they can just, in the solution, split water into oxygen and hydrogen. And I just carry around this hydrogen tank. When I need it, I just burn it because oxygen is everywhere. And then I don't create any greenhouse gas emission. It's a very clean fuel. You burn hydrogen with oxygen, then you produce water. The waste is purely clean. There's no problem with greenhouse gas emission.